The kick serve is a weapon every player wants in their arsenal because it's a high percentage serve and it's a tough serve to return aggressively. It's high percentage because you're putting a lot of spin on the tennis ball, and that spin is going to pull it into the tennis court. And it's a tough serve to return because that spin is also going to make the ball bounce strangely, making it difficult for your opponent to make solid contact. And this first shot is going to be his first serve, it's just a flat serve. And we're going to put a line through the flight path of the tennis ball. And what you're going to see is that the ball pretty much just travels straight down into the court and then bounces straight up. There's not really any side-to-side movement on this serve. But if we play it again, his opponent's going to miss it just because he can't handle the pace that Alzheimer puts on the tennis ball. And again, that's the strength of the flat serve. The next serve is going to be his kick serve. And like we've talked about in this section, the strengths of the kick serve are different than the flat serve. It's the bounce and the movement on the serve that makes it tough to hit. And it's also more consistent because he's got a lot of spin on the ball, so he can hit it higher over the net and then still have it land safely in the court. So when Alzheimer hits the tennis ball, we'll put that line through it again, and it's going to travel higher over the net, but then dive down into the court. And when it bounces, it's going to kick up and to the right. And then again, that's because he's a righty. For a lefty, the ball is going to kick in the opposite direction. One of the key differences between the kick serve and the flat serve is the location of your toss. The mechanics of your toss for each serve are the same. You want to hold the ball in your fingers, not your palm. Hold them in the fingers. Raise your arm in a smooth motion. Release the ball at about the top of your head and continue to extend your arm after you've tossed. But again, where you're putting the toss is different. For the kick serve, you want to toss the ball so that you hit it when it's directly above your head. And the best way to get it to that location is to aim for your hitting arm's shoulder when you toss the ball. So since I'm a lefty, I toss with my right hand. I would toss it up over my head and try and land it on this shoulder. And for all you righties out there, it's the opposite. Left hand, toss it over your head, aim for your right shoulder. And again, that should put it in the right spot directly above your head when you're trying to make contact. Let's take a look at my kick serve and my flat serve side by side and see how the location of my toss differs depending on which serve I'm hitting. Again, in these shots, I'm hitting into the ad court. Now the serve next to me here is my kick serve, and the serve further away is my flat serve. And you can see as I wind up with my flat serve, the toss is going into the court, but with my kick serve here, the toss is drifting over my head. And the reason that I'm tossing the ball in a different location is because later in the serve, I'm going to make contact with the tennis ball in a different spot than I will with the flat serve. And that spot, my point of contact, is directly above my head, which you can see right here. And that's the key to the kick serve. You need to toss the ball in a spot that lets you hit it directly above your head. Now that we've established that you need to toss the ball in a way that allows you to make contact with it directly above your head, it is worth mentioning that you have some flexibility in terms of how far you toss the ball into the court. And that flexibility depends on how aggressive you're trying to be with your kick serve. In the clip of me hitting my kick, I'm not being particularly aggressive, so my toss stays more or less in line with the baseline. But in the clip of Frank hitting his kick serve over here, his toss is drifting into the court. He's being more aggressive with his kick. And that's fine. You're welcome to toss the ball further into the court as long as your body follows your toss and you get your body under your toss when you make contact with the tennis ball. And you can see in the clip of Frank hitting, when the toss drifts into the court, his body follows, so his body position is still the same as mine at contact. Over here at my contact point, the toss is directly above my head when I hit it, and with Frank, the tennis ball is also directly above his head when he makes contact with it, so he follows the tennis ball into the court. Another difference you'll typically see between the kick serve and the flat serve is the amount of upper body rotation you get during the preparation and the racket drop. With the kick serve, your upper body tends to rotate a little bit further around than it would with a flat serve, and the reason is because later on in your serve, the direction your arm moves when you swing is different. Now, I'm not going to get into why it's different in this video. We'll do that in the next video. But if I was, for example, going to throw a ball at the camera, my shoulders wouldn't have to turn as far around as if I was throwing a ball to the side. Now my shoulders need to come further around so my arm can move naturally in a different direction. And that same concept applies to the difference between the kick serve and the flat serve. Let's take a look at Frank's kick serve and his flat serve side by side to see how his shoulder turn differs during his preparation. Frank's kick serve is the one next to me here, and his flat serve is the one that's further away. And as he begins his motion, you'll see the shoulder turn is greater if we freeze it in his trophy pose here. We'll put a line through both of his shoulders. The shoulder turn is greater with the kick serve than it is with the flat serve. And that difference is the same if we play it forward and now take a look in his racket drop. Let's put the line back. His shoulder turn is still greater in the kick serve than it is with the flat serve. And again, the reason for that is because the direction his arm moves when he swings later in the serve is different. One of the key differences between the kick serve and the flat serve is the direction that you swing and pronate when you make contact with the tennis ball. And for the flat serve, what you're trying to do is pretty much swing through the ball. You want to slap it at contact, hit it clean, and come through the ball. But for a kick serve, now what you're trying to do is swing across it. You're not swinging in the same direction you are for a flat serve. You're swinging across it and trying to brush up and across the back of the tennis ball, put spin on the ball so that it gets pulled into the service box and then it bounces funny. So again, to reiterate, as opposed to coming through the ball and slapping it for a flat serve, you want to come across and up against the back of the tennis ball with a kick serve. Let's take a look at the difference in the direction you swing when you hit a kick and when you hit a flat. We've got Frank's split here side by side. Serve closest to me is the kick. The one further away is the flat serve. And if we watch his flat serve first, when he winds up and he swings, his arm is moving into the court. Now if we watch him hit a kick serve, when he swings, he's now swinging more across the tennis ball. Let's rewind them, watch them side by side, and you can see clearly with the kick serve here, his arm is moving in a different direction than it is when he's hitting a flat serve. It's moving more across the ball and not through it. Now let's take a look at their contact points real quick because this is critical. The direction his racket strings are facing when he hits the ball are more or less the same. They're facing the direction he wants to hit it. So even though he's swinging in different directions, his strings are facing the direction he wants to hit the ball, and that's key. Let me expand upon this last point because it's a critical element of the kick serve. Because my strings need to face the direction I'm hitting the tennis ball, that means that the timing of my pronation is going to be different between the kick serve and the flat serve. Let's now take a look at Oliver's kick serve and his flat serve side by side. His kick serve is the one closest to me, and see how the brushing action of the kick serve is a little bit different than the slapping motion of the flat serve. With the flat serve, he swings pretty much straight through the tennis ball and he hits it square. But with the kick serve, again, he's swinging in a different direction now, across the ball. And when he hits it, he's brushing up against the back of the tennis ball. He's not hitting it clean, so to speak. Let's freeze these two serves at contact real quick because I want to talk about one more important point. And that is, with the kick serve, you want to let the ball drop slightly more than you would with the flat serve. And you can see the ball's a little bit lower when he's hitting his kick. And the reason is you want to be able to swing up across the tennis ball. And if you hit the ball as high as you can reach, you won't be able to be swinging up a little bit when you make contact. The final element of the kick serve is the follow-through, and it's a little bit different than how you would follow through for a flat serve. Remember, on the flat serve, all the weight ends up on your front foot, and you follow through into the court. And if we take a look at Oliver's flat serve, which is the furthest serve away here, he lands on that front foot, all the weight's there, and he follows through into the court. He has the racket head pointed down. Now let's take a look at his follow-through with his kick serve, which is the serve closest to me. His follow-through looks a little bit different in terms of how the arm moves because he was swinging differently leading up to his contact point. Because he was swinging across as opposed to through the tennis ball, his arm is naturally going to move in a different direction. Instead of following through here, it's going to be more to the side, and you'll get a gap in between the side of your body and your arm. Once he's followed through in that direction, the racket still comes across his body in a smooth and relaxed motion, just like it would for a flat serve.